Welcome back. What if one of the most ordinary coins in your pocket could reveal a hidden story of rarity, minting mistakes, and collector demand? Today, we're taking a closer look at the Roosevelt dime and the details that make some examples stand apart. First coin. The 1967 Roosevelt dime sits at a crossroads of American history, a coin born from necessity and economic upheaval, yet often overlooked in the change we carry. It belongs to a transitional era when the United States Mint had to fundamentally alter the very soul of its coinage. By 1967, the days of silver in our pocket change were officially over, swept away by rising bullion prices that made hoarding the older, metallic compositions inevitable. The Coinage Act of 1965 had mandated the shift to a copper-nickel-clad composition, a decision that paved the way for the dime you see today. This coin represents a government's attempt to maintain the familiar face of its currency while stripping away the intrinsic value that had once defined it. It wasn't until a few years later that this shift became permanent, and the 1967 Roosevelt dime serves as a silent testament to that profound monetary transition. Later in this script, we will explore what authenticated examples of this coin have sold for and the specific factors that determine its true collector value in the modern numismatic market. Before we dive into its inherent value, we must first understand the physical specimen produced by the Philadelphia Mint. The 1967 dime is composed of a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This copper-nickel-clad composition gave the coin a distinct weight of 2.27 grams and a diameter of 17.9 millimeters, with a reeded edge that is standard for the denomination. The obverse, designed by John R. Sinek, features the profile of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a tribute to the man who led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II, and who was instrumental in the fight against polio, with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." The reverse continues Sinek's design with a torch of liberty flanked by an olive branch of peace, a motif representing freedom and harmony, surrounded by the words United States of America and one dime. Crucially, for the regular strike issue, you will not find a mint mark, as the Philadelphia Mint was the sole producer of these coins for circulation, a fact that often confuses casual collectors looking for a D or S. The story of the 1967 Roosevelt dime, however, is not just about its standard circulation strikes. This period introduces us to the concept of the special mint set, a fascinating footnote in United States numismatics. From 1965 to 1967, the Mint did not produce traditional proof sets for collectors due to a national coin shortage. Instead, they issued special mint sets, which were packaged in hard plastic holders and struck with slightly more care and polished dies than regular business strikes. These specially minted coins, while not achieving the mirrored finish of proofs, display sharper details and a smoother, satiny luster. The mintage of the 1967 Special Mint set dime was significantly lower, with approximately 1.86 million sets produced, a stark contrast to the over 2.2 billion dimes struck for general circulation. This distinction is critical because the value of your 1967 dime depends almost entirely on whether it is a regular strike coin that somehow survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, or one of these specially preserved SMS examples. When assessing the collector value, the initial judgment begins with condition and eye appeal. For the common circulation strike, the sheer mintage number is staggering, making it practically worthless in lower circulated grades. However, the numismatic world is obsessed with perfection, and this is where the 1967 dime can surprise you. The standard grading scale considers factors like luster, the number of bag marks, and the strike quality. An example graded Mint State 67, MS67, is considered a gem and can command a premium, but the real pursuit is for the elusive Mint State 68, MS68 specimens. The PCGS Coin Facts page notes that in MS68 condition, these regular strike dimes are scarce, with few examples known. A regular strike 1967 dime can reach into the hundreds of dollars depending on the grade and the grading service, but the true demand often shifts to the quality of the strike itself, specifically the full band's designation on the torch on the reverse. This designation indicates that the horizontal bands in the middle of the torch are fully separated and distinct, a feature that was often weakly struck and thus is very scarce, commanding a substantial premium over a similarly graded non-FB coin. The real magic and the true potential for a higher three-figure or even four-figure value lies within the special mint set examples. The finest specimens of these SMS dimes have reached incredible heights for a modern coin. An SMS dime graded MS69 by a leading certification service like NGC is a numismatic treasure. For instance, APMEX lists a 1967 Roosevelt dime certified MS69 by NGC with a population of only 73 coins and only 16 graded higher, highlighting its extreme rarity. This is where the collector market shows its teeth. While a standard 1967 dime in circulation is barely worth more than its face value, these premium modern coins have achieved significant auction results. A PCGS MS67 special mint set example has seen auction prices around $940, and there are records of a PCGS MS69 reaching $500 in recent sales. One of the highest recorded sales for a 1967 dime, according to PCGS auction data, is $1,440. The allure lies in the fact that these special mint set coins rarely obtain such high grades, and when they do, the competition among registry set collectors pushes the price into a completely different stratosphere. However, the numismatic exploration of the 1967 dime doesn't end with grade and finish. The die variety hunters, a passionate segment of the collecting community, are ever on the lookout for anomalies that set a coin apart from the billions of its brethren. This brings us to the documented die varieties, such as the 1967 10C DDO FS101. DDO stands for double die obverse, a fascinating error caused by a misalignment during the die hubbing process, resulting in a noticeable doubling of the design elements like the date and lettering. Finding such a variety adds a layer of complexity and value that goes beyond mere condition. If a collector discovers a 1967 dime with distinct doubling on the obverse or other die anomalies, it transforms from a common piece of pocket change into a piece of minting history that commands respect and a premium. These varieties are authenticated by services like PCGS or NGC, and they contribute to the diverse and dynamic nature of the Roosevelt dime series. As a collector, navigating the world of the 1967 dime requires a professional and critical eye. Given that billions of these were made, the market is flooded with worn-out examples. But when you find one that exhibits a sharp strike, original luster, and no distracting marks, it is worth closer examination. The key is to look for the full torch or full band's designation on the reverse, and to learn how to spot the difference between a worn-down business strike and a special mint set piece. When it comes to preservation, proper storage in archival quality holders is essential. Avoid cleaning or wiping the surfaces, as this can leave micro-scratches that severely diminish the coin's value. The 1967 dime is a testament to the idea that value is not just about age or metal content, but about condition, rarity, and the story it tells. It is a modern coin with a place in history, a small silverless disc that can carry a surprisingly big value for those who know what to look for. Next coin. In the vast, often overlooked expanse of late 20th century United States coinage, the 1980 Roosevelt dime from the Philadelphia Mint stands as a fascinating paradox, a coin struck by the billions, yet one that holds a quiet, compelling allure for the discerning numismatist. It represents a time when the nation's coinage had fully transitioned into the modern era of base metal compositions, yet it carries forward the solemn legacy of a president who changed the course of history. On the surface, it is a modest piece of pocket change, but beneath its copper-nickel exterior lies a story of economic pragmatism, intricate minting processes, and a collector market that seeks perfection above all else. Later in this documentary, we will uncover the specific factors that can transform this common date into a prized collectible, and reveal what truly exceptional, authenticated examples have realized in the competitive world of numismatic auctions. To understand the 1980 P dime, one must first appreciate the historical context of its creation. The Roosevelt dime series was born in 1946, a tribute to Franklin Delano Roosevelt following his death in 1945, a fitting honor for a man who championed the march of dimes in the fight against polio. By 1980, the United States was navigating a period of significant economic turbulence, with high inflation and interest rates reshaping the financial landscape. The dime itself had been stripped of its silver content since the Coinage Act of 1965, a crucial shift necessitated by rising silver bullion prices that made the old 90% silver dimes economically unviable for circulation. The 1980 issue, therefore, was produced in a copper-nickel-clad composition, a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. This standard composition gave the coin a precise weight of 2.27 grams and a diameter of 17.9 millimeters, maintaining the familiar size and feel of the denomination while rendering it intrinsically worth only its face value. The physical design of the 1980 dime is a masterclass in classic American numismatic art, the work of chief engraver John R. Sinek. The obverse features a striking left-facing portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt, with the word Liberty arching along the left periphery and the national motto In God We Trust placed horizontally just to the left of the president's neck. The date, 1980, is positioned prominently on the right side. The reverse, equally symbolic, centers on a torch of liberty, representing freedom and enlightenment, flanked by an olive branch of peace on the left and an oak branch of strength on the right. This specific design remained unchanged for decades, but for the 1980 Philadelphia Mint issue, the absence of a mint mark is a key characteristic. At this time, the P mint mark was not yet used on business strike dimes from Philadelphia, a practice that wouldn't commence until the following year, making its lack a normal feature of the type. The Philadelphia Mint was the sole producer of the circulation strike that year, with a colossal mintage of 735,170,000 coins. While the massive mintage of the 1980 P suggests an abundance that would render it worthless in circulated grades, the professional collector's focus shifts to the preservation of the coin's mint state. For a coin to be considered a collectible, it must exhibit full, original luster and be free from the abrasions and marks that come from a life in commerce. This is where the concept of grading becomes paramount. A coin in mint state 60, MS60, might show significant bag marks and a duller appearance, but as the grades ascend to MS65, MS66, and beyond, the coin's surfaces become progressively more pristine and dazzling. The real pursuit for the 1980 P dime is the elusive MS68 grade, where the coin is practically flawless, exhibiting a sharp strike and brilliant surfaces. The value spectrum is wide. A brilliant, uncirculated example might sell for just a few dollars, but a truly high-grade specimen can command a significant premium, with some MS67 examples realizing prices from roughly $25 to over $80 at auction, depending on the specific sale and market demand at the time. However, the most significant driver of value for the 1980 P dime, and indeed for the entire Roosevelt series after 1965, is a specific detail on the reverse design known as the full bands or FB designation. The reverse of the dime features a torch with two horizontal bands near its midsection. During the striking process, the metal often didn't flow completely into the recesses of the die, leaving these bands indistinct or merged together. A coin that exhibits fully split and distinct horizontal lines on these bands is deemed a full band specimen, a recognition of a superior strike. For the 1980 P, finding a coin with full bands is exceptionally challenging. The gray sheet emphasizes that full bands Roosevelt dimes are scarce and command substantial premiums over similarly graded coins that lack this designation. This single attribute can transform a common, high-mintage coin into a competitive piece for set registries, where collectors compete to assemble the finest possible collection. The premium for an FB designation often starts to multiply at the MS-66 level and becomes truly significant for the highest grades. Beyond the standard business strikes, the numismatic landscape of 1980 also includes the proof issues from the San Francisco Mint. These 1980 S-proof dimes, struck with specially prepared dies and polished planchets, offer a cameo contrast that is highly prized. A proof coin that achieves the highest possible grade of proof 70 deep cameo, PR70 DCAM, is a coin that has been struck perfectly, with no visible flaws under magnification and with deeply mirrored fields contrasting with frosted cameo devices. The mintage for the 1980 S-proof was a much more modest 3,554,806, making it far more scarce than the 1980 P business strike. While the graysheet indicates that standard 1980 proof coins are affordable for the average collector, a flawless PR70 DCAM specimen represents the pinnacle of modern minting quality and is an entirely different market proposition. This distinction underscores a fundamental numismatic principle. For modern coins, grade and eye appeal are everything. Furthermore, the Roosevelt dime series is renowned for its rich variety of mint eras and die varieties, and the 1980s were no exception. While the 1982 No P dime is famously the most significant era of the era, the 1980 P year also benefits from the collector interest generated by these anomalies. The possibility of finding a double die obverse, DDO, or a repunched mint mark on the proof issues, though none are as prominent as other years, adds a layer of intrigue for the variety hunter. The proof Roosevelt dimes of the late 1960s through the early 1980s are famous for their No-S proof varieties, the most valuable of which is the 1975 No-S proof Roosevelt dime, which has traded for more than $300,000. While the 1980 S-proof dimes are expected to have their mint mark, the existence of these major varieties in adjacent years heightens the overall awareness and meticulous examination of coins from this era, encouraging collectors to scrutinize their 1980 dimes for any unexpected anomalies. Ultimately, the 1980 Roosevelt dime from Philadelphia is a testament to the modern coin collecting adage that condition is king. For the overwhelming majority of these coins, their value is their face value. They are common pocket change. However, for the high-end collector who pursues perfect surfaces, sharp strikes, and full torch bands, this humble dime can become a focal point. The prices realized for these coins are not random. They are a direct reflection of a supply and demand equation where the supply is the few coins that survived in spectacular condition, and the demand comes from a dedicated community chasing registry set excellence. The lesson here is that even in a sea of billions, individual examples can rise to remarkable prominence. Authentication by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC is non-negotiable for verifying a coin's true grade and authenticity, and proper storage in inert holders is essential to protect its delicate surfaces from environmental damage. The 1980 P Roosevelt dime is a quiet reminder that history and value are not always found in ancient metals, but often hiding in plain sight, waiting for the discerning eye to recognize the extraordinary in the ordinary. Next up, imagine holding a 1981 United States Roosevelt dime, a coin that to the untrained eye looks like any other piece of pocket change from the early 1980s. But in the world of serious numismatics, this particular year holds a secret, a duality that has captivated collectors for decades. It is a coin of two faces, not just in its design, but in its very identity, thanks to a subtle yet significant variation that occurred at the San Francisco Mint. This isn't a story about ancient treasure or precious metals. It's a story about the pursuit of perfection and the fascinating quirks of the minting process. Later in this documentary, we will uncover what factors have propelled certain authenticated examples of this coin to remarkable collector values, revealing why professionals scrutinize every detail of this seemingly common issue. To begin our investigation, we must understand the standard 1981 dime. Produced in immense numbers across 3 mints, it is a classic example of modern American coinage. The composition is a copper-nickel clad, an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, a standard adopted in 1965 to replace silver. The coin weighs in at a precise 2.27 grams and measures 17.9 millimeters in diameter, with a reeded edge. The obverse, designed by Chief Engraver John R. Sinek, features the iconic left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a tribute to the man who inspired the March of Dimes. The reverse continues Sinek's design, depicting a torch of liberty flanked by an olive branch of peace and an oak branch of strength, surrounded by the nation's mottos. The first layer of this coin's mystery begins with its mintage figures. The Philadelphia Mint struck a staggering 676,650,000 dimes without a mint mark, while the Denver Mint contributed a massive 712,284,143 coins, distinguished by a small d. These colossal numbers suggest that the 1981 dime is incredibly common, and in circulated grades, it is. Its value in worn condition barely surpasses its face value. However, the numismatic market doesn't trade on face value. It trades on condition, rarity, and the compelling stories behind the coins. For a serious collector, a 1981 P dime in pristine, uncirculated condition, graded mint state 65 or higher, begins to attract attention, but it's not until you reach the stratospheric grades that it becomes truly interesting. The true intrigue of the 1981 Roosevelt dime, however, lies not in Philadelphia or Denver, but at the San Francisco Mint. In 1981, the Mint produced proof dimes for collectors. These are not coins intended for circulation. They are struck with specially polished dies and planchets to create a mirror-like background and a frosted, cameo appearance on the raised devices. This is where the investigation deepens. In 1979, the Mint had revised the design of the S Mint mark, making it clearer and more distinct. This new style, known as Type II, was continued into 1981. However, at the very beginning of proof production for 1981, the Mint accidentally used the older Type I Mint mark punches on some of the dies. This created two distinct varieties: the 1981 S-Type I, which is the rarer of the two, and the more common 1981 S-Type II with the clearer mint mark. This subtle difference in the mint mark is a defining characteristic for collectors. The 1981 S-Proof dime is a study in scarcity, and while both varieties are collected, the Type I has a distinct edge in value due to its lower mintage of approximately 3,034,000, compared to the Type II's 4,063,083. This hunt for the Type I variety exemplifies the collector's mindset. It is a hunt for the anomaly, the subtle mistake that makes a coin a historical artifact of the minting process. While the other no-S-proof varieties from the late 1960s and 1970s, such as the 1975 no-S-proof that has sold for over $300,000, command headlines, the 1981 varieties demonstrate that even subtle distinctions can define a coin's identity and desirability. But the collector's examination does not stop at the mint mark. For a business strike 1981P or 1981D dime to truly stand out, it must possess a quality known as full bands or full torch. This designation is awarded by grading services like PCGS and NGC to coins where the horizontal bands on the torch on the reverse are fully split and clearly visible, a feature that was often not fully struck. Finding a 1981 dime with full bands in high grades is a significant challenge. While a standard MS-66 example is common, a coin graded MS-68 with full bands is considered extremely scarce, with only a handful known to exist. The competition for these top-tier examples is fierce, as collectors compete to build the finest registry sets possible. Recent auction results show that a PCGS MS-68 full torch 1981D dime realized an average price of $144. Last coin. At first glance, the 1991 P Roosevelt dime appears to be one of the most unremarkable coins in American pocket change, a small silvery disc produced in the hundreds of millions, destined for vending machines and spare change jars. Yet, within the walls of the numismatic community, this very commonness has bred a passionate and competitive pursuit of perfection. The story of the 1991 dime is not about ancient history or precious metal, but about the obsessive quest for quality in the modern era of mass production. It challenges the collector to look beyond the date and see the subtle variations in strike, luster, and surface preservation that can elevate a humble coin to a prized artifact. As we journey through the life of this coin, we will discover the market forces and collector psychology that have made certain authenticated examples remarkably desirable, and reveal the specific factors that determine whether a 1991 P dime is worth a modest premium or a significant sum. To understand the 1991 P dime, we must first set the historical stage. The Roosevelt dime series, which began in 1946, was a tribute to President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, commemorating his leadership and his personal fight against polio. By 1991, the design conceived by chief engraver John R. Sinek had been a fixture on the nation's coinage for over 4 decades. This was a period of relative stability for the coin's composition. Since the Coinage Act of 1965, the dime had been struck in a copper-nickel-clad format, consisting of an inner core of pure copper sandwiched between outer layers of a 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy. This switch from silver was a direct consequence of rising bullion prices and the resulting hoarding, a pragmatic decision that secured the dime's place in commerce. The 1991 issue, therefore, represents the continuation of a well-established modern coinage tradition, a far cry from the silver coinage that preceded it. Our focus, however, is the 1991 issue from the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the absence of a mint mark. The Philadelphia facility produced a staggering 927,220,000 of these dimes for circulation. This immense mintage is the first clue to its story. It is a coin that is, for all practical purposes, inexhaustible in circulated and even lower uncirculated grades. A typical 1991 P dime found in a bankroll is only worth its face value or a few cents over. The challenge for a collector is not finding one, but finding one that stands above the rest. The market dictates that in order for this coin to hold any substantial collector value, it must be in exceptional, pristine condition, a state rarely achieved for a coin that passed through the high-speed counting and bagging processes of a major mint. This brings us to the heart of the matter, the grading of the 1991 P dime. In the world of modern numismatics, condition is king, and the difference of a single grade point can be monumental. The most common uncirculated specimens range from mint state 65 to 66, but examples reaching MS 67 are where the coin begins to be considered scarce. The true prize, however, lies in the even rarer MS 68 and above, where a coin's surfaces are nearly flawless, displaying a brilliant, unbroken luster and a sharp, full strike. The PCGS Coin Facts page notes that while examples up to MS 66 are easy to locate, the coin becomes genuinely scarce at the MS 67 level. It is in these elite grades that the coin's value appreciates, driven by registry-set collectors who will pay a premium to own the finest known examples of this common date. The most compelling factor that can dramatically increase the value of a 1991 P dime is a specific detail on its reverse, known as the full bands or FB designation. This refers to the horizontal bands on the torch, a central element of the design. On many dimes, these lines are indistinct or merged due to insufficient striking pressure or die wear. However, a coin that exhibits fully separated, crisp horizontal lines on these bands is considered a superior strike and earns the full bands designation from grading services. The gray sheet explains that full bands Roosevelt dimes are valued by enthusiasts and command substantial premiums over similarly graded non-FB specimens. For the 1991 P, finding a high-grade example with this designation is exceptionally challenging, as its very scarcity in this specific condition is what drives the market. When we analyze the market data, we see the tangible results of these grading and design attributes. While a circulated example is essentially face value, a mint state 1991 P dime can realize prices that are a significant multiple of its face value, with examples selling for upwards of $60. Interestingly, certain auctions have seen unusual premiums for specific grades, such as a PCGS MS64 example selling for $546, a figure that likely reflects a unique market moment or a bidding war for a high-quality specimen. However, the most reliable and consistent premiums are found on coins certified at the MS67 level and above, with examples typically realizing between $45 and $100, though the market is dynamic and subject to fluctuations based on demand and availability. These values are a far cry from the multi-thousand-dollar sums that some rare varieties command, but for a coin struck in the billions, these figures are a testament to the collector's hunger for perfection. The allure of the 1991 P dime is a microcosm of modern coin collecting itself. It teaches a fundamental lesson. The value of a coin is not always determined by its age or metal content, but by its condition and the stories it tells of its creation. The hunt for a full band's example requires a keen eye and patience, rewarding the collector who can spot a subtle nuance that most people would never even notice. Authentication and grading by a professional service like PCGS or NGC are essential to verify the coin's condition and assign a grade that the market can trust. For collectors, proper storage in a protective, inert holder is crucial to preserve the surfaces and luster that give these high-grade coins their value. As the market continues to mature, the competition for the finest gems from the 1990s will only intensify, proving that even in an era of mass production, rarity of condition can still emerge. The 1991 P dime may be a common coin in the grand scheme of American numismatics, but it stands as a powerful reminder that hidden gems are all around us, waiting for a discerning eye and a willingness to look past the surface. As we conclude this investigation, one can't help but wonder what other everyday coins in our change might conceal a secret that, once uncovered, could change the way we see them forever.